Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're sewing up the Modern Moto Jacket from Ellie and Mac. This is a super cute, trendy pattern. It's an awesome jacket, and I can't wait to sew it together. Don't be scared, we're gonna do it together, so we can do it. But first, before I get started, let me remind you of our fun giveaway of $50 Ellie and Mac certificate. All you have to do is subscribe to our channel and comment below, and you are entered for a giveaway. We give a $50 Ellie and Mac certificate every month. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't, and comment below so you can be entered for a giveaway. All right, so let's get started. Before I get to sewing though, usually I already have my pattern pieces cut out, but I wanted to show you and advise you to please be careful when you're cutting out your pattern. This pattern has a lot of pieces that can be cut either on the fold or mirrored to actually each other. So for the instance, we have the under bust part B, and it says on there, cut one outer mirrored to the under bust front bodice, which is the other piece. It's called the under bust front bodice. Okay, so what that means when it says it's mirrored, that means that if you're gonna cut this one face up, this one is gonna go face down on top of it, not on top of it. When you're cutting it, you're gonna cut this one face down and the other one face up, so that they would be mirroring each other on the fabric. Okay, so what I would do is I'm gonna cut my, I'll put some of this fabric away, and I'm gonna tilt you down so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so here we go. I've got my pattern piece. I've got my fabric. I am making this jacket in white. I've always wanted a white jacket, and this is the perfect occasion, so I'm so excited. All right, so here's my piece, my fabric, and I am putting this on this is the wrong side of my fabric right here. Okay, so I would place my pattern piece, if this is the wrong side of my fabric, and I'm gonna place this up right here. I'm gonna put it upside down, or I mean, you can have the right side of your fabric be up. Okay, so here's my pattern piece, here's my fabric. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that. Okay, so this is my, basically what I did is now the right side of this pattern piece is on the right side of my fabric, and I need to buy I need to get new blades because this one is kind of dull, so that's why it kind of sticks to a certain fabric, especially with woven, because there's all those little threads trying to come apart. Okay, so here's my pattern piece. This is the right side of my fabric. This is the right side of my pattern piece. Okay, so I cut one for outer, and it's gonna be mirrored to the bust. Okay, so I'm gonna put this over here to the side, and I'm gonna grab my other piece. So this one is supposed to be mirrored. So if they're mirrored, that means they're gonna go just like this. You see that? That one was facing up, so this one's gonna be right on top of it. So what I'm gonna do is, again, since this is the wrong side of my fabric, okay, and I cut that one upside down, I'm gonna cut this one right side up. Because then that way they will be mirrored. See, this one's this way, that one's that way. And now I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right side up. And what I forgot to do to show you earlier, it's if you're making the long or the short. I'm making the short, so I'm gonna fold this one up to cut it with the short right here. And I'm cutting this around to face that other one that I just cut. So now they are mirrored together. And what I can do is, when I pick it up, you will see that the right side of one will touch the wrong side of the other. Come on. All right. Whoop. Okay. I really do need a new blade. Okay, so now if you were to put them in front of each other, the right side of my fabric touches the right side of the other one. So they are mirrored. See that? Mirrored. They're looking at each other. So now I've got the two mirror pieces, and then it wants me to cut 2 for liner and 2 for liner of each as well. No, for the other one it doesn't. So just make sure that whatever it tells you to do, they will tell you on the pattern where to cut. Now I cut the 1 mirrored, and then I'm gonna cut 2 for the liner mirrored, okay? And this one only told me to cut 1, so it's just a 1 that I'm cutting. So all of the pattern pieces will tell you exactly what to cut. So you just need to make sure that when you're cutting, you read your pattern pieces well, so that way you can cut them with each other, mirrored, or on the fold, or whatever it is that you need to do, because they all have a little bit different on each one. So now that we're cutting, I'm gonna finish cutting everything up, and then we're gonna move on to sewing. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is transfer all our darts. Darts are in place to give you a better fit on your garment. So they are a necessary thing, and they make your garment so much better, fit so much better. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna transfer those darts. Now there's a few pieces that have the darts. This is the over the bust front piece. It's got a dart, and this is what the dart looks like on the pattern. It's a little piece right here. Also, the back bodice has a dart on it too, and this is a different kind of dart that goes on the inside. So it's a dart that's gonna shape the back as well. So we're gonna transfer those darts first. Now remember, if this is the right side of your fabric, because you are supposed to cut and the right side up of your fabric, all the outers, then you know that this dart is going to be on the other side, but I'm just going to mark it. Now I know I'm doing it with pencil. If you have a some kind of fabric marker or chalk, I just know that chalk would not show with this right here. So I'm just going to do it with pencil, and I'm just doing a couple marks on this side so I can see them on the other side. You can also do is you can grab your pattern and actually cut out the dart out of your pattern, and that would make life so much easier. Okay, and then lay your pattern piece upside down and mark your dart. Okay, now you're gonna mark this dart on all your pieces. You're gonna have this outer, and if you have, and then you'll have on this one, you'll just have the outer, but then you also have your bodice, upper bust part B bodice also has the dart. So you'll have to do it on the liner and the outer and the main of this one too. So you'll mark it first. So this one's already marked, and then after, I'm gonna show you how to sew it together. So here's this one again. So you're gonna mark this one in the middle of the fabric on your back pieces. Here's my back piece. Again, you'll need it on both. And you're obviously gonna do it on the wrong side of the fabric so that the dart comes into the wrong side. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out and mark both of my back patterns as well. All right, so I'm gonna show you how to do one of each. So I've got my marked dart right here. This is my side dart, and I'm gonna fold it right sides together. And what I'm gonna do is you can either draw a line right straight through the middle where you can find your fold at, or you can go ahead and pin on one side of the mark to the other, so I know where I'm supposed to be folding at. Right here, and as I go forward, just pin those two together, and then make sure that you're doing the same on in the middle. So here's my one side, and here's my other side. That's my middle, and they're pinned together right there. So as you can see my line right there, I'm gonna sew right over that line. But I'm gonna show you my diamond one, my back one as well, so I can show you I'm doing the same exact thing. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna poke right here, my pin on one edge. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna come out at the other point right here. And I know that those are my 2 points that are going to be meeting. And then I can pull it sideways and pin it, okay? And then just up here, make sure it meets. And then towards the other side as well. Now you're going to be doing this step to all your outer and liner pieces. And we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you how to sew them together. All right, I am at my sewing machine and I've got my straight stitch on my sewing machine, and I pinned it on this side, which is more uncomfortable for me. So I'm just gonna turn it to go this way, but it's the same thing. It's just a straight pin right there. If you want to kind of steam it at first, just to kind of make it straight, you can do that. We're gonna go back and forth right here at the beginning. And then we're just going to follow that line that I made with my pencil, that mark I made. And we're just going all the way down slowly. You can remove that pin. Just remember, make sure that you see where it's at the end, and you're going all the way down to the end. Now, when you get to that end, you don't want to cut the threads. You're going to just pull it out. Okay. And then you're going to grab those threads and tie a little knot. Sorry, my fabric just wanted to slide down. Okay. Now don't pull it tight, because you don't want to pull those stitches tight and make it all have a wrinkle or anything like that. You're just tying them off at the end. And there is my dart is finished. So once we steam it and everything, you'll see that the dart comes into the inside. Okay, now for our back dart, same thing, but on this case, we're gonna start right at that middle point. We're gonna go to the middle point. Make sure my thread doesn't come undone. We're gonna go to that middle point. We'll go back and forth to place that stitch. And then we're gonna go down to one point. Same thing we did for the other one. We're just gonna pull it, and then I'll tie it in a little bit. And then we're gonna go start at the middle again. And go back and forth so it doesn't come undone. And we're gonna go down to that last point again. Take it off, and then you're gonna untie it, and you will have that dart on the back of your bodice. Okay, now if you're working with thick fabric and this is too bulky, you can go ahead and use your scissors and release the tension by cutting the fabric right here. Just don't cut the threads. You can cut the fabric a little bit, but don't cut the threads. Cut it before the thread ends. And then you're gonna go ahead and make sure you steam it down flat, and you steam it on this side as well. And now your darts are done. Not too hard. All right, so now we're gonna work on pockets. Now, the first thing you need to do is, if you're using a thin piece of fabric like a lining, you want to go ahead and put interfacing on the back of the pocket. So they're gonna be 2 mirror pockets, and you'll put interfacing on the back of each pocket as you're gonna be using it. I'm using a thicker fabric, so I don't need to use the interfacing on this one, so I'm just gonna skip that part. And now I'm gonna put my pattern piece right on top of my pocket, and I'm gonna mark where that square box is on my pocket. Okay. Mark the piece on the pocket. Okay. So, and this is on the back side of the pocket is where I'm marking my piece. So like whatever you put the interfacing, I'm gonna be marking it right on top of my interfacing, okay? And then I have the other little piece. Where did I put it? My other little piece that shows me the triangles. Now, we're going to sew around the triangles. The other area, the extra area, is where you're gonna sew when you put your zipper on. So you can sew your zipper all the way around. So I'm making that mark, my triangles on here. And I'm going to meet them at the middle to make that line. And that's where I'm gonna cut the pocket open once I sew it on. Okay, so there it is. My marks are on there. You can kind of see them. You might not be able to see them very well, but they're on there. I can see them. Okay, so once I have that, I'm gonna grab my pattern piece and I am going to make sure that my piece, that I mark my pocket on my piece. Okay, so I'm gonna put my piece right on it. And there's my pocket piece. I already cut out, if you can see the shadow of it, I cut out that piece where my pocket's gonna go. Make sure the higher one is for the short version, the lower one is for the regular version. I'm doing the short version, so I cut out the one at the top. And I'm going to grab my pocket piece and I'm gonna put it right sides together, right on top of the mark of the piece. See that piece right there? If you wanna go ahead and mark it, you can. What I'm doing though is, since my fabric is white and I don't want to mark it too many times, I'm actually just kind of looking at it and feeling it and marking it with my pin. But you want to make sure that it's really even. You don't want it to be uneven. See, like this pocket is too far up, so we're gonna have to move it down a little bit right here. Okay, and then make sure that it's even Stevens, so you have a nice even pocket. You don't want it to be like, you know, crooked or higher than the one on the other side or not matching. So that's why you want to make sure that you mark it really well. Again, the reason why I'm not really drawing on it is because of the fact that I have white fabric and I don't want it to show through. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing to the other piece as well, to that other side piece, my to my upper bust front piece on the other side. So I'm doing it to both pieces. So here's the other piece, and I already did my pocket on this piece. So you can see my zipper on there. When I put it on top, I made sure that I marked it the same way. See, I marked my pocket, I put it on, I already got it on that one. I'm going to show you on this one how to do it. Once that's on, we're going to go ahead and sew around the triangle. So we're going to sew around the whole rectangle, around the triangles, all the way around. All right, so I'm using a straight stitch and I'm just going around those rectangles, down and over, and then all the way down that line that I created, all the way down to the triangle, turn, and turn again, and all the way down. And off. Now, once I've sewn around it, I'm gonna go in and cut along that middle line all the way to my triangle. Once I get to the point of my triangle, see right there's my triangle, I'm gonna cut all the way to right there. I'm gonna go sideways, cut up and up, but not cut the thread. So we're going up all the way to almost to the thread and then stop. And then I'm gonna come almost to the thread and stop. All right, so I cut all out and I cut the triangle. And now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to fit that pocket into that hole. As you can see, turn the other side, bring it all the way out. And as I bring it out, I'm going to steam it out. Now make sure that your fabric, whatever fabric you're using, it's okay to steam. If it's not, if you need to put maybe a cloth on top of it, ooh, that's hot. Or you need to put something on top of it to hold it so it's not burning the fabric. My fabric can be steamed, so I'm steaming away. But if you have a fabric that you're using like a leather-like fabric, or if you're using something that just can't be steamed, you need to be carefully doing it. So always make sure with your fabric first before you steam away and, you know, mess up your fabric. So there is my pocket ready for my zipper. So the first thing we're gonna do with the zipper is we're gonna go along the edge at the end and sew like a stay stitch right there so it doesn't open when you're trying to sew it. So sew it on. So I'm just gonna do a couple stitches at the end so that it doesn't come open and mess up my sewing while I'm trying to sew it together. And get all uneven and such. So there it is. Now I've got like just a little stitch right there. Now I'm gonna go ahead and grab my bodice, and this is my front part. So I want my zipper up there, my zipper top up there at the front. Okay, see, here's my zipper up, and I'm just putting my zipper right on top. Now, if your zipper is longer than your pocket, don't worry about it. Just, you can later, when you once you sew it, if you want to trim your zipper a little bit, mine is just a tiny bit longer, it's fine, no worries. So now I'm gonna pin my zipper onto my fabric. If I could grab it and pin it, and I'm gonna show you, because then I'm gonna go ahead and sew my zipper all the way around. Now, sewing zippers, it is a little bit scary because you want to get it just right. But honestly, what I would say is this: you're really just, it's like you're sewing another piece of fabric in there. Just as long as you get it on there correctly, evenly, you should be good to go, good to go. I'm coming this way. And then I'm gonna lift it up and show you how I pinned my zipper. So my zipper has been pinned, okay? So as I'm sewing it, right now it looks kind of tight, but it's not. As I'm sewing it, make sure you don't pull it too tight so it doesn't pucker. But I just pinned my zipper. Here's my back of my zipper. And I'm gonna be sewing where that cloth, zipper cloth is, I'm gonna be sewing that onto the edges of my fabric. So what you will do is when you get to around here, you can open up that zipper, just put the zipper stopper down. That way you can sew around it and then lift it up again and then pull it up and sew around it. So we're gonna go ahead and sew around it. All right, so we're gonna sew a zipper, and I have a zipper foot, which helps me to get closer to my zipper. Now, if you don't have a zipper foot, that's okay. You can do it with a regular foot. You just wanna get as close to it as you can so you can sew it right. You wanna make sure that your zipper is down and not cut, you know, like folded over, and then your lining of your pocket is facing out so it's not cut under. And then we're gonna go slowly sew around the edge. When you get to right here, you can move that zipper up. You can kind of pull it up, move the zipper out of the way, go back down and keep going. I'm just going along that edge, sewing that zipper on. Okay, so we're gonna go all the way down. So make sure you go all the way around and then meet it at the end. And your zipper is on. Here's my zipper. Once you finish with the zipper and you're gonna put this fabric face up, you're gonna grab your other pocket and you're gonna put it right sides together right on top of it. Okay, and I'm gonna pin all the way around. Now you can sew this on with your sewing machine, or you could do it with your serger, however you wanna sew it, but you're just basically sewing all the way around the two together. See? So you're gonna sew them together. I'm going to use my serger and I'm just gonna go all the way around. Make sure when you get over to the side where the zipper is, you kind of keep it nice and even right there. And that is it. All right, so I am serging those two pockets together and making sure that my zipper and everything is out of the way as I'm sewing them together. I was kind of sewing them upside down on that side so that I can put everything out of the way. You don't want to catch the bodice or anything like that on there. You just want to catch those pockets. I'm going to keep sewing all the way around. All right, so my pocket has been sewn together and it is done. And there it is. That is my one pocket. Okay, so remember that you're doing the same thing with the other side. So over the bust and the other one. Okay, so now that those are done, I'm gonna put them aside and we're gonna go ahead and work on the belt. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab both my pieces. I'm gonna fold them right sides together. And I am going to sew first the raw edge up and over. And now you can do that again. You can do that with if you want a very nice and straight like line when you open it up, like your corners and stuff. If you want your corners to be really, really nice and squared out, you will want to do it with your sewing machine because then you can trim those edges. But I just do with my serger and I don't mind how it looks. So I'm gonna go up and over. Don't sew this side because we're gonna flip it around, up and over on both pieces of the belt. All right, so once you have sewn them together, you can go ahead and turn them right side out. So you're gonna go ahead and turn them all the way around. This part is gonna take a little while, so. So once I've turned them all the way around and I have the corners, you can go ahead and pull those corners. I forgot to mention earlier that if you are using a very thin sort of fabric, you can use some interfacing. You can put some interfacing on it to make it so you can make your belt stiffer if you want to do that. My fabric is pretty good, so I didn't feel like I needed to do that. If you want to kind of stick something in there and push it and make sure that the corners are good and flushed. Again, this is the part where if you did it with a sewing machine, then you will have a straighter corner than I do, but I really don't mind, so it's okay with me. If you wanted to now, you can go around the whole thing and top stitch so that it's nice and even. So I'm just gonna go ahead and steam it. So if you wanted to top stitch around the edge, my iron turned off, so that's why it's not steaming. If you wanted to top stitch around the whole thing to give it like a very professional look, this is when you can go ahead and do that now and steam it all the way and top stitch it all the way around. All right, so now that my belts are ready, I'm gonna go ahead and put my top pieces up. So here's my over the bust and my under the bust pieces. And my long one, the long strap, is gonna go over the bust. So this is gonna be, now we're gonna determine that this is gonna be my right side, and then this one's gonna be under the bust right here. So this is gonna be my other side. So we're gonna put them together like this. So now we know that those are gonna be our front sides, okay? Because they're gonna face this way, gonna go around the side. So this one's gonna go around this way. So this is my front, whichever side you think looks better. So with the long one, I'm gonna measure 1.5 inches from the edge, and I'm gonna mark it, okay? And then I'm gonna fold it in half and find the middle piece. So in the middle right there, you see it right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and put a grommet there. Now, I don't really have any grommets right now at the moment. So I'm just gonna use the one side of this little thing that I have right here, just to show you what it's like. you can go ahead and look at your grommets and see what they however they tell you to do how they tell you to do it. I do grommets on, I show you how to do some of the grommets on the undercover hoodie and some other patterns where I have grommets. So if you want to check that out, how I do them, you can go ahead and check that out. But really your instructional manual and your grommets should tell you exactly how to do it. So this is just a pretend grommet right here. So now we're going to grab our belt and we're going to fit our belt right over and fit my little stopper of my belt, and I'm going to fit this one right under. Okay, there it is. And then I'm going to fold it down just like so. Now, depending on how big your belt buckle is, you may have to do this portion on, sorry, I put it on backwards. My buckle is going the other way. See, you got to make sure that it's going the right way. So here we go. It's going this way. So we're going to put that on there again. Much better. Okay. So as you can see, I went through, it's folded over, and this is going to come over to this side. And I'm going to sew that right there together. So you got to make sure, like, if this belt is too big, you might have to do hand stitch it on, or you can use your sewing machine if you have enough space. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this together right there on the belt, right there. All right, so once you sewed your belt together, you're going to, on the other side, with increments of 1.75 inch, you're going to sew, you're going to start at 1 inch and 3/4. You're going to put your grommet there, 1 3/4 inch, another grommet, according to instructions on your grommets. Once you tried your jacket on, if you want to add more, you can go ahead and add more grommets to it. So I'm going to add mine later because, like I said, I don't have my grommets right now. So I'm going to grab my jacket. I'm going to place this is my over the bust piece. And here's the one that has my belt. And I'm going to place my belt piece 3/4 inch from the bottom. 3/4 inch. And then I have my other piece. And I'm going to put my other one the same from the bottom, 3/4 inch up. And I'm going to baste it on. This is the inside right here is where I'm attaching them. See, this is my arm side. This is my inside right here, 3/4 inch, and I'm basting them on. All right, so now we're gonna grab our backs and we're gonna put them right side up, right on top of each other. Right sides together at that back seam. Telling you all these little details, the back seam, the darts. It's just gonna make this such an awesome jacket. And if you take your time and just work on it carefully, you're going to love the results. So proud of what you sewed. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew it with a straight stitch on the back. All right, so it's sewn. We're gonna open it up and we're going to open that seam up and steam it. And we're gonna do this exact same thing to our liner. We're doing to the outer and the liner. Ooh, it's hot. Hot steam. It's a nice line down the back. Look at how great that's gonna look. Now, what we want to do is we're going to grab our front, our bodice, and what we're going to do is we're going to sew the sides. But before we do all that, you can go ahead and we are going to put a stay stitch all the way around the neckline and the front of our bodice pieces. So all the way around, up at the top and all the way around this whole thing, just a stay stitch all the way around the front as well. So it just goes like from the top all the way around the top and all the way around the front. The reason being because it will keep it from stretching. Now a stay stitch can be just a long stitch on your sewing machine that you can later pull out, but then you can it can help you so it doesn't, the fabric doesn't stretch and it won't, if it stretches then it won't match perfectly. So we're gonna go ahead and do all the way around and then we'll sew those pieces, those sides together. All right, so I put a stay stitch all the way around. Can you see it right there? All the way around the front of my bodice pieces and around the neck of my back piece, all the way around. So now I'm gonna put my back piece flat down. I'm gonna grab my bodice front and I'm going to put it right on the sides. We're gonna get those sides together. We're gonna sew those sides together. So here's the one side. And pin it together. And then we're gonna sew, make sure your belt is gonna be sewn in there. And if you want to move your pocket kind of out of the way so you don't get it caught in there. So we're gonna sew that one onto that side. And we're gonna sew the other side as well. So we're gonna sew the two sides on. Here's the one side. Here's my other one. This is my over bust. So we're gonna go ahead and sew those sides together. It's gonna start looking more like a jacket any minute. Let me know how you're doing. Do you have any questions so far? If you have questions, just post them below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible with any answers of any questions that you have on these tutorials. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and sew those sides together. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that aside for a minute and I'm gonna grab my liner for my upper under bust and my under bust part A front liner and my under bust part B front liner. So I'm gonna grab my liners face up. And now remember, if you're looking at the tutorial and you see that it looks like, oh, that doesn't look like the liner, that's because when you fold your collar open, you'll be able to see the liner part. So it really is up to you if you want the liner to be done with the same fabric as the whole jacket so it all evens out, or if you want to show the liner or whatever you want to do. So that is why it can be a little bit confusing when you're looking at the tutorial and you see different fabrics, but they're both liners. They're both being used as liners. And we're gonna meet this outside raw edge, right sides together right here at the outer edge. Here's my front piece and here's my arm area. So we're meeting right here on the outside and I'm gonna go ahead and sew that up. I know my pins are like all behind me and my tomatoes somewhere else. So I'm just like grabbing from wherever they are and that's okay. So I'm just gonna pin and I'm gonna sew these together right here at the raw edge, that raw edge. All right, so once that is done, we're gonna open it up and we're going to go ahead and steam that seam open. And you're gonna do that for both liners, for both sides. Now, after we get done steaming this seam, if I ever get done steaming this seam, we're gonna go ahead and put a stay stitch on this as well, just like we put a stay stitch on the other one, because we wanna make sure that this is not gonna stretch. We don't want either, we don't want the liner or the outer to stretch. So we wanna make sure that they all are nice and stayed stitched. So we're gonna go around the neck area, all the way around the neck area and the front area. We're gonna go ahead and stay stitch all the way around for both pieces. All right, so once you stay stitched all the way around, can you see my stay stitch? It's kind of wrinkly right here because this is thin fabric and I forgot to change it to thin fabric. But anyway, so once you stay stitch around, We're gonna grab our back and we're gonna sew it together just like we did our outer. We're gonna sew that side, one side together. Where are my pins? Again, hiding in the back. We're gonna sew one side and then we're gonna sew the other side. And we can see the light. We're getting close to being done. We've done the hard part, or so we think. Actually, the only other hard part that we have to do is we gotta do the big zipper. But if we did the other zippers, we can do the big zipper. I think that we can do it. And then we'll be basically done. Aren't you excited? I am excited because already as it is, I'm already thinking this is gonna be amazing. I've been wanting a white jacket for a long time. I've actually had this fabric for a while now because I'm like hoping for a jacket I could make myself. So I'm excited. And I'll probably wear it one time and then I get it all dirty, stained, and we'll never wear it again. But we're crossing our fingers that I can keep it clean. Let's go ahead and sew these sides. All right, now for the fun part, we're going to make sure and measure our zipper so that we make sure that we have our zipper is long enough, or, you know, see how long it needs to be. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our pattern piece. And we're gonna put it over our bodice. Okay, and we're gonna mark right here where it says zipper end line. We're gonna mark that right here. It doesn't go all the way to the top. I'll show you in a minute. That aside. See, it kind of goes like when it starts curving. And it's gonna be the same for the other side. So we can just measure them, put them together and make sure that it's right. Not that it really matters because you're gonna measure the zipper on one of the sides really. Now you're gonna measure 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. Oh, let me make sure it is 3/4 of an inch because now I'm like doubting myself. It is. It is. It is. 3/4 of an inch. I was right. 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. And you're going to mark that. And that's where your zipper is going to start. So I'm going to grab my zipper. And I'm going to lace it right here, 3/4 of an inch. To where the mark is, where my zipper is supposed to end. And I am going to mark my zipper. You can draw on it. You can, I'm just pinning it. Okay, make sure it's even. Look, my zipper is much longer than what I need to do. So I want to go ahead and shorten my zipper. How do I shorten my zipper? What we're going to do is, first off, we're going to grab, I'm just looking at something to see about how long, 1 or 1.5 inches from the top. So right here from where we already marked it, I'm going to mark it right here again. You know what? Let me open my zipper. Move my stopper down. I mean my zipper thing down. Put them together. Mark it again where I'm supposed to be at. All right, so there's my zipper, right? I'm gonna mark 1.5 inches from the bottom, from where I'm supposed to stop at. Okay, so now it's marked. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and mark with your chalk or with whatever you want. And we're gonna start removing. I'm gonna show you how to remove one of them from up here. So that way you can see what you're doing. You're gonna get some pliers. You're gonna latch onto your little teeth, latch on, and then pull it, twist and pull. Hold on, let me grab it correctly. Twist and pull. And if you grab it correctly, it should come off, but I'm not grabbing it correctly. I promise, I did this to the other ones. This one's just a strong zipper, for Pete's sakes. And it came off. Let me try another one. Okay. Hold it tight, twist, and twist and pull. There it is. See it right there? Okay, I'm gonna do another one. Don't go too far in, and that was my mistake on that first one. Hold it tight, twist it, and pull. Come on, open up. You know you want to. There it is. Make sure when you're looking at it, get really close. There we go. This one should be good. Open up and pull. Why do I have such a hard time? There it is. All right, so we're gonna be pulling all of them over here. The area that you're finishing off. Then you're gonna grab one of the stoppers. I don't know if you wanna pull one that you already have, or if you have one from a kit, you can go ahead and use one of those stoppers and move it down to where you wanna stop, right here where you made the mark. Or if you don't wanna go through all the struggle of pulling all the teeth out, you can also use, of putting another stopper right there, you can also use thread, and you can just clip with thread, just like so, like a bunch of thread right there that's gonna make like your own stopper out of thread. And I've done that many times too. If you don't have a stopper, I don't know if I can take this one off and put it again at the bottom. I've got the pliers. I might as well try. So I'm gonna go and finish up taking all these things off my zipper. Since this is a very hard zipper, it's like very hard hardware, I might not take them all off. I might just trim it and then just leave it raw right there. And then you just take just a few off, not a whole many, and then do the stopper right there. So let me go ahead and get to that, and then we'll be going to the next step, which will be attaching our zipper. All right, so I was showing you how to do it, and I was fighting with it, and I don't understand why on camera it was making me fight so much, but it was a lot easier once I started to do it without y'all watching me. So I got some of them off, okay, and I cut it, and then since I didn't have a stopper, I just did it with my thread over and over again. Now I didn't take all of them off. As you can see, there's like a little gap right there. I didn't finish all of them because it was a lot of hard work. So you can go ahead and take them off, or you can just get a zipper that fits. I went with the longer size. I should have gone with the size that fits, so then I wouldn't have to do all that. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to grab our zipper. Okay, this is a separating zipper, so it can separate into two. And we're gonna put the right side of the zipper against the raw edge of the fabric. Remember, you're starting at 3/4 of an inch, and you're going to pin that zipper onto the your top, your bodice. Again, the right side of the zipper. So here's my zipper, here's the right side of my zipper. This right side of my zipper is touching the right side of my fabric, like so. So like my actual zipper thing is touching the right side of the fabric here at the raw edge. Okay, now what would help a lot is if you have like this kind of like tape, the fusible tape. A lot of times that helps a lot because you can use your fusible tape. Where is the end of it? Come on. Okay, you can use the fusible tape and put it on there where your zipper is gonna go. And then you can put your zipper right on top of it, and it kind of holds it in place. That way you're not, if your pins move or anything while you're trying to sew, your fusible tape will keep it in place. So if you want to use some fusible tape right there, and you can tape your zipper on, and then we're gonna go ahead and sew it. So I just put a little bit of fusible tape on there. Again, raw edges touching, right sides together. I wanted to show you closer up so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. This is the right side of my zipper, and this is the right side of my fabric. And so I'm gonna grab the right side of my zipper, put it right on top, touching at the raw edge. Here's my raw edge right there. And I'm gonna pin or double side if you wanna use the fusible tape, and pin, and then we're gonna go and sew all the way up. Now the zipper is not going to go all the way to the end of the shoulder piece. It's gonna stop before then. So don't worry if you have all this shoulder piece left and you're like, oh, what is that? Don't worry about it. It's not gonna go all the way up. So we're gonna go ahead and sew that together. All right, so I'm using a zipper foot and just the same foot that I showed you earlier. And I'm just going along that edge, sewing those that zipper to the right side of my fabric. As you can tell, the really cool thing about the zipper is that it comes, zipper foot is that it comes, this little thing stops it from going over the zipper so that you don't crack a needle, but it also lets it go close to the zipper. If you don't have a zipper foot, you can just use your regular foot, but just be careful that you don't end up running over your zipper and then cracking your needle. So I'm just going right along that edge, and I'm gonna sew both zippers, both sides of the zipper. Now when I get to right here where my zipper is at, I can go ahead and pick up my foot, move my zipper out of the way, and then go back down over the same spot and finish up. That way it doesn't become a huge bump and then I can't finish it up. And our one side of the zipper is on. Okay, because when you turn it, it'll be just like so. All right, now that we have our zipper on, we're gonna open up our bodice, and we've got our, this is our this is our under bust B is the one that's on this side, the short one, the small one. And we're gonna grab the other piece. It's called the under bust part A, the liner. And we're gonna match it up, right sides together. And we're gonna sandwich that zipper in between the two of them. So here is my part A and my part B under bust, and we're sandwiching that zipper in between the two of them to sew that zipper in there, encase it in there. You should also use a zipper foot for this step if you have one, or if you don't have one, just be very, very careful that you don't step on your zipper teeth as you're sewing the zipper on. When you get over here to the part where the zipper is at, you want to make sure that your tape is kind of folded towards the inside, so that way it gets cut right there. So you want to poke it out. You want to poke that zipper out. If you're like me and you stitched all the way up, you might want to kind of pull it a little bit. You want it to poke into the side of the, so it's sandwiched between the two sides so it can be flushed. The zipper can be flushed. So I'm going to go ahead and pin all the way. Make sure the zipper tape is hanging out a little bit so that I can trap it as I'm sewing both of them together. So you can't really see the zipper, but it's in between, it's sandwiched. And the good thing about the zipper foot is that it touches the zipper right here. But if you don't have one, just make sure you're feeling for it as you're sewing it on so you don't run over the zipper. So we're going all the way up. We're just sewing, encasing that zipper in there with those two layers of fabric. Make sure that you are not catching anything else. You're moving everything else out of the way as you go. All right, so I sewed all the way down. I cut my zipper between the two, see right there? So it kind of flushed because I tucked it in. And then you can, oh, I didn't trim it all the way. You can trim that rest of the zipper tape right there so it's gone, but it's trapped between the layers. I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna steam so that my zipper's facing out. And then I'm gonna go back, woo, that was hot, and top stitch this inside line right here all the way down to the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and top stitch that line. And then after I top stitch that line, we can go ahead and sew our shoulders together. So we're folded right sides together again. And we're gonna sew those shoulders right sides together at the top. And do the same thing for the liner. Sew your shoulders right sides together at the top for your liner and your outer. So let me go top stitch and sew those shoulders and we will move on. All right, so now that our side has been top stitched, it's coming along. I'm super excited. This is really like the scariest project I've ever done, but it's like the coolest. So I'm super excited. I hope you are as well. We're gonna be almost done. And I think we did the hardest part, you know, the zippers, we got that done. Pockets, we've got that done. So we are almost there. So belt loops, I'm gonna grab my loop. I'm gonna fold it right sides together at the short edges and sew. And you get to see the back of my beautiful Forever Flounce top. Which, by the way, if you haven't sewn it yet, it is so cool. I love it. And then we're gonna open it and steam it. Okay. Now, if yours tends to fray, oh, that's hot. I'm going to go ahead and finish off those edges because then we're gonna fold them and stitch it on, sew it on, but I want those edges to be finished. So I'm gonna finish both of those edges. I'm just finishing them with my serger just so that they're nice and straight. So that they don't fray, you know, once I attach them. And I am just kind of clipping the ends. They're gonna fold down. I'm gonna sew over them. So I think it'll be fine. We're gonna go ahead and grab our bodice. And we're going to use our pattern piece and mark where our loop is gonna go, your belt loop, okay? So you're gonna grab your pattern piece and it shows you the spot right here, so you can just kind of put it on there. Sometimes I open the hole right there and kind of figure out where it's at, but I'm just kind of right there. Make sure that is at 3/4 of an inch from the bottom is the main thing. And you're gonna fold those two seams down and pin it. Now for the one side, for the over the bust, you will sew this down both sides at a 1/8 inch. You're top stitching it on. So I'm going to show you just like that. You're going to top stitch both of them on. But for the under the bust, you're going to make sure that you put it where it's supposed to be. Okay, right there. But you're only going to sew the bottom, because you're gonna fit your belt first so that the buckle doesn't get lost in the shuffle. All right, so I top stitched the one. Now the other side, I want to make sure I'm going to top stitch the bottom 1/8 of an inch, but then you want to make sure that your belt buckle is, you're going to be able to fit your belt buckle through. So we're going to go ahead and top stitch the bottom first, and then before we top stitch the top, we're going to fit our belt through and fold it right in the middle so that it will be fitted in there, and kind of fold it in half so you don't catch your belt when you're just sewing the loop. You don't want to catch your belt. You just want to sew the loop and sew top stitch both sides so your belt will be trapped in there right here. All right, so let's put that jacket aside and we're gonna work on our sleeves. So first off, we're gonna grab our sleeve and we're going to put them right on top of each other, the upper sleeve pattern piece. And I am going to mark all the little lines right here, 1, 2, and 3. Now, what I'm going to do is you need to make sure that I want to make sure which one's my right side and which one's my wrong side because they're cut mirrored. Now, my fabric is kind of hard to tell which one's the right side and the wrong side. So I wanted to make sure, and right now they're mirrored. So I put my pins towards the right side. So here my pin is on the outside, my pin is on the outside. This is the right side. That way, when I go to attach my other side, I'm attaching them right sides together. So I marked my one side. Now I'm gonna mark I dropped my pattern piece. I'm gonna mark my bicep line, my under the sleeve. And again, same thing. I'm putting them right sides together. That way I know which one's the right side because I want them to be opposite of each other. Okay, so here they are. And I'm gonna mark it right at the top where there's that seam. And I'm putting my pin towards the inside, towards the right side, if that makes any sense. I'll show you what I mean by that. I don't know how you want to mark it, but see, my pin head is on the right side of my fabric. And now this pin head is going to be on this side because this is the right side of this fabric. That way I can remember that this is the right side of the fabric. Now I'm going to show you in one sleeve, but you're going to do it for both sleeves and you're going to do it for your liner as well. You're going to grab your sleeve. You're going to put it right side up. Here's my right side. And I'm going to grab my matching side and put it right side on top. Let's see. Yeah, that's the right side because my pin is on that side, right side. And I'm going to match it at the right side at the raw edge. So that's the first raw edge. You see the shape of it? That's going to attach to it. That's going to be my one piece of my sleeve. So right sides together at the raw edge, matching. See how they fit? If I was going to put it on this side, because we're going to sew it on that side as well, but if I was going to put it on this side, see how it fits over here, but the short side would not fit over here to the pin. So yeah, that's how you know which side it's attached to which side. So I'm going to attach this one right here. Okay, so I'm going to pin. I don't know where my tomato went. It's hiding somewhere. And because of the nature of the curved nature of it, you might have to kind of, oh, there it is. Might have to kind of pull a little bit when you're sewing. Then once this side is sewn, then we're going to sew right sides together on this side. See right there? You're just going to sew it right over here, right sides together. You're going to go all the way up to the pin, right sides together. I'm just going to go ahead and pin both because that's just how I do it sometimes. If you want to just do one side and then do the other one, you can do it that way. I'm just pinning both and then I'm going to go ahead and sew both at the same time. And so we're going to do this for our outer and our liner. So we're creating the sleeve. And some people say, oh, why do we do it this way? This will give you such a better fit on your sleeve. Being that this is a nice jacket, it's a fitted jacket, it's a great looking jacket. We want it to have the best fit possible. So doing these extra steps and doing the hard part is what's gonna make this jacket just stand out and look like $1,000,000. It's gonna look like you bought it for a whole lot more than you spent on fabric. So this is what we're taking the extra steps. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew those and I'm gonna do it for all my other ones. Remember, right sides together. All right, so we're almost there. Now that I've made those sleeves, remember the 2 lines on your pattern piece that you marked are the back of your sleeve. As you can see, here's my back bodice and it's got the 2 little lines on it. I'm gonna grab my pattern piece and match it up to my bodice, my back bodice, and mark where that back piece is. That way I can match them up when I go to attach my sleeve. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab my sleeve and turn it right side out. It's turned right side out. And I'm going to make sure that it's facing the right way. So you have to make sure which one's the back and which one's the front. This is the back piece. So I already made sure that the back, the 2 lines on my sleeve are going to match the back of the 2 lines on my on my top, my bodice. If that makes any sense. It should make sense. You want to match the back to the back and the front to the front. So the 2 lines of the bodice have to match the 2 lines of the sleeves, and that is your back of your sleeve. Pin that together. That top mark is where your top of your seam is, right here. Match that together. And then these other marks are on the sides. The bottom mark that I marked on my, and that little panel, that is your bottom seam. Okay, and then this other one is your other side seam. Now, you might, depending on what fabric you're using, if it doesn't have any stretch at all and it is kind of stiff, you may have to baste around the sleeve, make a basting stitch to kind of make your sleeve like be able to ease in there. Okay, so I'm just matching those raw edges, right sides together. So you can see right here, raw edges, right sides together all the way around. It's kind of rounded, so you kind of have to play with the fabric. Again, if you're having a hard time and you feel like your sleeve is so much bigger than your area, then you can go ahead, because see, mine is kind of heavier, so it kind of gives a little bit of stretch, so it's fine. But if you need to, you can go ahead and use a basting stitch and kind of gather the sleeve just a little bit, so it'll fit nicely into your sleeve cap. If you have to gather a little bit, usually I gather a little bit at the top, so it still gives it a little bit of a poof, but you shouldn't have to gather very much at all, because it should fit you on your sleeve just right. And I'm going to go ahead and sew all the way around to sew the sleeve right on. And we are going to do this to your liner and outer, and we are basically done. Now we just have to attach them together. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm so excited. All right, now I am done with my sleeves. How exciting. I'm trying not to put my jacket too close to my face and get it all makeuped. So scared. Okay, so here's my jacket. It's basically finished. Sleeves are on. Now we're gonna do our color. Now, if your fabric is really, really thin, you wanna put some interfacing on your color. So go ahead and attach that on your interfacing, but my color is, I think it's good, so I'm not going to attach interfacing to it. You wanna put it right side up. This is my right side, and I'm gonna put my liner right on top of it. Now, a lot of people do use the same outer and a liner for it, because you'll be able to see it. Now, I just did it with the liner because my liner is white as well, so I think it should be okay. But if you want to, you can use the same fabric for liner and outer on your color, so it stays the same color. Same as the lapel, you know, when you're doing the front part. If you wanted to do that to all match the same color, you don't have to use a liner fabric. You could just use the same fabric on that area. Now we're going to go ahead and sew around the top edge of our piece. Now, you can either sew it with a straight stitch on your sewing machine, which will give you a better corners, because then you can trim the corners, or you can use your serger. I just like to use my serger. But this is really up to you. So we're gonna go ahead and sew all the way around that top curve of our collar. Once that is sewn together, if you did your sewing machine and you wanna clip the corners, make sure it's all even, you can do that. But like I said, I didn't, I just went with my serger. So I'm just gonna turn it around and right side out and work on those corners, kind of even them out. See, this is the reason why people do it with their sewing machine and not their serger, so that they'll have a really nice, sharp, round place. Sharp edges. With your serger, you have bulkier edges, so it doesn't lay as nice and flat. Again, I am a rebel, so I just go with my serger and call it a day. but honestly, it would be better done with a sewing machine because then you would have better edges. My liner wants to keep coming over here, and I don't want my liner to come up. I want my outer to lay nice and flat in liner. This is another reason why sewing might be better for this step, because then it would lay nicer. So I'm steaming all the way around, and after I'm done steaming it and my color looks good, I'm going to go top stitch all the way around the color so that it will lay nice and flat. So I'm gonna go ahead and just top stitch around the edge of the color. Color is top stitched, so just go ahead and steam it so it looks really good. Okay, so my color is ready. So now I'm gonna go ahead and grab my outer, open it up and place it on my board. Okay, now I'm gonna grab my pattern piece, and it tells me where my color starts. So I'm gonna put it on here and match it up. Color starts here. Just kind of throwing my pattern piece on the ground. Get it out of the way. And I'm gonna grab my color and I put it right side of my color right on top of my jacket. So it's right sides together, and I'm meeting that raw edge at the top all the way down my jacket top. Jacket top. I can sing again. You know why? Because we are almost done, and you know, I always get so excited when towards the end of a project and it's looking so great, and I'm just excited. So excited. I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. I'm sorry about that. That was bad. So I'm going all the way down. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to baste the color on. I'm just going to baste it on, because then I'm gonna come back with my liner and place it right on top and sew them together. So I'm gonna use a long straight stitch on my sewing machine to baste this color onto my bodice. So let's do that. All right, my color is basted onto my jacket. Now we're gonna go ahead and put our jacket up there and grab our liner and put it right on top of our jacket, right sides together. And we're just matching all those sides. So we're going at the top, and I'm gonna pull you back so you can kind of see what I'm doing. We're going right here all the way around this top part and pinning, like we're literally just pinning them together right sides. And that color that I just put on, it's sandwiched between both of them right here. It's a sandwich. You can match. You want to go ahead and look at your seams and make sure you're matching your seams. That way it stays nice and even, because I know that sometimes your liner can be a little bit flimsier than your outer. So you want to make sure that they're matching, that you nothing stretched. You know, hopefully that basting stitch you created there at the beginning help that not stretch and get all wonky and weird, so that now that you're attaching it, it's not like, oh, you know, one is longer than the other or whatever or whatnot. So we're pinning it together. I hope you can see my hair is not covering you up, all the way around. And we're gonna go down the front as well. Now, when you are going to sew it together, so we're gonna sew all the way around, right sides together. Obviously right here, you're gonna encase that zipper. You wanna take it very slow right here in this area where you're encasing that zipper. And if you want to, you can even go ahead and use your zipper foot right here. And what I would do is, obviously when you get to that zipper, move it up and down as you're going around it, so that he gets out of your way. So stop, move it, keep going. Make sure you just go all the way around, and make sure you do it carefully. All right, I went all the way around. Make sure at the bottom, you make sure your zipper, not your zipper, your belt is tucked in out of the way. Move it out of the way when you're sewing around it so it doesn't get cut. See how it's trying to come out right here? Move it out of the way. Make sure, like I pinned right there and I pinned the belt on there. Make sure you're not catching your belt. You should have left enough room for you to be able to sew it on without catching the belt. And then you also want to leave a gap, like a 4-inch gap, so that you can turn it all inside out when you need to come all the way, when you need to turn it around. So I'm going to go ahead and sew all the way around. I am going to be using, you can use your sewing machine, you can use your serger. I'm just going to go ahead and go with my sewing machine. That way I can use my zipper foot around the zipper area and go all the way around and make a nice, smooth, even sewn all the way around. So we're going to go ahead and just do it. All right, so I top stitch around and we're almost done all the way around the whole thing. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pull my sleeves out, still inside out. We're not pulling them out of the bottom hole yet. We're just have them inside out, pulled out. As you can see, here's my 2 sleeves. Here's my liner and my outer of the same side, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my liner sleeve and I'm gonna fold it so you can see the right side edge. It really doesn't matter how much you fold it. And I just give it a tiny bit steam so it doesn't move, but you're gonna sew it at a 1/4 inch allowance, just like everything else. It really doesn't matter how much you fold it right now. I'm gonna grab it, my other sleeve, make sure they're not twisted, and I'm gonna feed this folded piece right into the sleeve, the outer sleeve, right sides together. Matching at the raw edge and matching those seams. I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna match those seams and pin it, and then I'm gonna show you closer up. Matching those seams. Match those seams. And then all the way around. I'm matching them all the way around those raw edges, right sides together. Okay, so here is the seams. So if you were to pull it out, you can see the liner, you can see the outer. It's just, the liner is just folded so that the right side of the liner is touching the right side of the outer. So they're touching each other like so. And then we're gonna go around and sew. You can use a zigzag stitch, you can use your serger, whatever you want. You're just gonna sew around the whole thing. Sew around the cuff to put it together. I wanted to bring you in closer because I don't know if that sounded weird when I said sew around the whole thing. You're going to grab, see how it's matching right there, the raw edges? We're gonna go ahead and sew those raw edges together. And when you're sewing those raw edges together, you wanna make sure that your sleeve is kind of out of the way. So you're gonna be really sewing it really slowly, and you're just catching the liner and outer and the right sides together. And I'm just kind of going slowly and bringing it around, making sure that the sleeve is kind of out of the way, the actual sleeve. You're just sewing that raw edge. You don't wanna catch the sleeve in there. So I'm just pulling everything else out of the way and sewing around that sleeve. Almost there. See? So now they are attached together at the right sides. So now when we go to turn it around, these sleeves will be attached together. All right, so now that we've finished our sleeve, we're gonna go back over here where we left that opening, that 4-inch opening at the bottom. And we're gonna very carefully turn it right side out. Very carefully. You're gonna be pulling it out carefully so you don't tear it. Hey, make sure that you look and see that you didn't leave any pins in there too. That's another thing, I've done that before. So make sure you don't leave any pins, but you're pulling it all out through that gap at the bottom. And we're almost done, honestly. I know I keep saying that, we're almost done. But honestly, we're almost done because now all we need to do is top stitch the jacket and we are done. So make sure your sides come out all this area, your corners. If you need to go in with like an orange stick or something, go in there and kind of push those corners out so that they're nice and flush, like at the corners at the corners, you know? So your round right here, you can go ahead and use your, whatever you have, whatever tool you have, to make sure that it's all turned nice and even. Okay. All the way around. So I'm going to keep doing that. And then once I've turned it all the way around, we're going to go around the whole thing and top stitch. And when you go around the whole thing to top stitch, you want to make sure that over here where you left that gap, you fold it in to itself and close that gap as you're top stitching. I'm going to continue to do so. Look, I'm going to fit my hand to my sleeve so you can see my liner in there. And you know you cut the outer a little bit longer than the liner, so there it is. If you want to also top stitch around the sleeve, you can do that. I'm just fitting my arm. This is how you pull your sleeve out. Fitting my arm into my outer, and that is my jacket. I'm gonna go ahead and steam it. Give it a good steam. It always makes it look so much better. And then top stitch all the way around. You can even top stitch around that zipper in the front that we didn't top stitch yet. So you'll go all the way around the whole thing, just top stitching it to finish it. And that really is all we have left to do. And we are done with our jacket. I'm gonna finish it up, then I'm gonna take a picture to show it to you. Please, please, please let me know if you have any questions about anything that I did. I know this is a very involved pattern. We did a whole lot more than we usually do, but it's so worth it. It's a great pattern. I hope you enjoyed making it. Please comment below if you have any questions. Please come follow us on Facebook and Instagram so you can see what else we're making. We wanna see you make your jackets. We want you to post it on our Facebook or Instagram page so we can see them. And please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.